guys, welcome to my channel. My name is ReadingBear and I hope you are ready for some more stories. And today, we'll take a look at some new IDontWorkHereLady content. If you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comment. And now, let's dive right into the stories.
The first story is titled Karens of All Types. Okay, so this one is going to be a little different than what most of you are used to. I work on the West Coast running my own business as a cybersecurity consultant. I'm 35 and have been in this business a very long time. I have around 10 employees, however the one we just hired is a special case. Very special. She is one of the dumbest, smart people I know, and her attitude says she graduated with honors from an Ivy League school, and that means she owns you. Since I'm the owner of the business, I leave most duties to my senior security engineers, so she has probably only seen me a few times in the 3 months she's worked for me. Cast: K equals Karen, me equals yours truly, MF equals manager friend. I was out shopping for supplies in the office and I decided I was going to stop by my local Sam's Club for some lunch. I used to work there when I was in my early 20s, and I was friends with the now manager of the specific store while we were cashiers together. It's worth mentioning that since I was heading to the office after this, I was dressed in my formal business attire. I promise it comes into play later. The Sam's Club Cafe has some of the best food in my opinion for the price that they offer. I finish my food and have a chat with MF. MF leaves to go do manager things, and I go to throw away my paper plate that was provided to me for my pizza when I start hearing screaming coming from the cafe counter, which isn't even 10 feet away. I look over to see what is happening. Karen: What do you mean you're out of frozen yogurt? Do you idiots ever keep anything stocked? This was a common thing to happen in the summertime since everyone loves their frozen yogurt. Karen looks at me and rushes over. Manager, you are going to do something about this. I want that idiot fired right this instant. He was rude and called me an idiot for asking for frozen yogurt. Me? I don't work? She cut me off before I could continue, but it was then I started to realize she looked familiar. Karen: I don't care. You will fire this little pussy-ass brat right now, or I'm contacting corporate over this. After that it clicked. She's my employee. Me? I can't do anything for you because I don't work here. I thought about telling her, but I wanted to see where this goes. Karen jabs her finger in my chest as hard as she can and twists it. Listen, you retard, I don't know who you think I'm, but I'm leagues smarter than you. The only reason you work here is because you're a reject who couldn't finish college. I almost busted out laughing at that comment, but I composed myself. At this point, the actual manager, MF, comes running over and asks what's wrong. Before I could explain, Karen steps in. Karen: He pointing at me, assaulted me, and verbally abused me while refusing to fire this employee. The girl behind the cafe counter, who at this point looked visibly horrified, and as his boss, you better fire him right this instant. If you don't have all of your jobs, you insignificant clowns. Yes, she really said that. She called us clowns. How ironic. Me, pretty much fed up now, I revealed my real identity. Karen, I'm insert name here, the owner of insert company, name here, the consultancy you work for. We just hired you a couple months ago, right? I showed her my badge with title, name, and picture on it. Her face turned whiter than snow. MF, I saw her jabbing her finger into you. The cops are already on their way. I didn't think it was possible, but her face turned even whiter than it was before. She looked like she was about to hurl. Anyway, the cops show up, look at the security footage, and without even asking me anything, they handcuff her and take her away. They talked to me and asked me if I wanted to press charges, and I said yes, court date pending, and later find out from MF that she yanked the cafe girl by the collar, slapped her, and pushed her back before I had seen her yelling. I asked the cops if I could have a word with her before they drove her away since she's my employee. They said yes, and I walked up to her sitting in the cop car, hands cuffed behind her back. She is about to speak, but I held my finger up in front of her face. Me? For someone who graduated with honors at insert Ivy League school here, you're pretty dumb. I was never impressed with your work, and now that you're here, I doubt you'll ever get a job in the security field again. Don't bother showing up for work anymore. I had to add that last part cause I knew she'd be out on bail. Her husband is pretty wealthy too. Never thought I'd run into a Karen that actually worked for me. The next story is titled Park in Our Driveway. Get a naked man to argue with. College. A bunch of guys rent a beat-up old house in town next to a daycare. Problem is the parents picking up and dropping off park in our driveway. We argue with the owner of the daycare every day. She doesn't care. So one day I begin parking behind the parents who are parked in my driveway. This infuriates the daycare owner. We go back and forth, and usually I go out and move my car so the parents can get their car out. One day though, I just had it. I worked most of the night, had early morning classes, and I have 20 minutes to shave, shower, and get ready for my second job this afternoon. I get home, and sure enough, parents are in our driveway again. So I park behind them and go inside. Get in the shower, and when I get out, the daycare owner is beating on the door loud enough to shake the wall. I go downstairs wrapped in a towel and open the door. She bursts into the middle of the living room and screams at me. While she is screaming, I take the towel off and calmly dry my hair. I am buck ducking naked. She stops screaming long enough to realize she's standing next to a naked college student, screams something about calling the cops, and bolts for the door. It doesn't open. In her haste to leave, she's locked the door instead of unlocking it. Now she's stuck with a naked man. I tell her I have to have the key, true, to unlock the door, and the key is upstairs on my dresser. I leave her looking like she's about to have a heart attack. I take the longest time to go upstairs and get dressed and get the key. When I come back to the living room, she's white as a ghost. I unlock the door and say, "It sucks to be stuck and not able to leave, right?" Fast forward about 20 minutes, and when I'm leaving, a cop is parked in front of the house. I chat with them through the car window. I explain the situation and they chuckle. "Did you invite her in?" "No," I tell them. "She barged into my house." "Well, it's not a crime to be naked in your own house, or problem for violating your privacy." I'd love to say this rectified the situation, but it didn't. We never found a way to stop parents from parking in our driveway, but it was fun for a few minutes to freak a stuck-up, mean-ass middle-aged woman. The next story is titled "Forced Racist Rich Lady to Dumpster Dive." Some time ago, I had a job as a runner for a crappy horror movie company. Part of my job as a runner was to go to the bank to make various deposits and withdrawals for both the company and the boss. I went to the bank almost every day, sometimes multiple times a day. The bank was in a really upscale neighborhood, so it was not uncommon to see some really high-end cars in the nearby lot where I parked. The lot was not free if you were just parking to walk the area, but you could get validation if you went to certain specific businesses, like the bank a few buildings away. At this point, I had been at my job for about 3.5 years, which meant I had been to this lot easily about 1,000 times. I knew a lot of the workers in the area by name, including the lot workers. We talked a lot, and oftentimes I could get away with not getting validation, even on days I wasn't working. I was in my mid-20s and was often in shorts, flip-flops, and a merchandise shirt for my company. We didn't have uniforms, so they just gave me a ton of shirts from their movies, so I would have some kind of identifier while I was out working. Now, I should mention that I am Hispanic with pretty dark skin. I normally wouldn't even bother mentioning that, because who cares? You know who cares? Rich, entitled people. I've seen my fair share of veiled racism and typecasting over the years. Hell, even at that lot, I've been asked multiple times to park people's cars. They usually apologize and look embarrassed when I point out the guys in the polo shirts and vests with the name of the lot on them, so I usually just roll my eyes and go about my day. Occasionally, I'll get someone rude that will snap their fingers at me, which I extremely hate, or chuck their keys at me. I'm usually a little more of an ass, but nothing major. On this day, I was in a fairly poor mood. My company was starting to do some shady stuff and was screwing over employees. A lot of people hadn't been paid in weeks, and I was on half checks. The only reason I got any money was because the main meat of my job had me driving anywhere from 4-12 hours a day, and I can't do that without gas, which they reimbursed me for on top of my paycheck. So on my way to the bank, I bought a strawberry smoothie for lunch, as I knew there was no chance I was going to make it back to the office to eat the food I brought. I'd pull into the non-valet parking in the lot, chat with the attendant while I grab my ticket, and start walking towards the bank. I hear someone shouting Jose. Hey Jose. But obviously I ignore it, as my name is not Jose. I walk past the lady shouting when I feel something smack me in the back of the head, dropping my glasses. I pick up my glasses and turn around and see this red-in-the-face lady glaring angrily at me. I was super pissed. I looked down to see what hit me, and of course, it was her car and house keys. This idiot literally threw her keys at a stranger's head. She was driving some really nice Escalade that looked like it was probably fully loaded and detailed regularly. I pick up her keys and shout, "What the duck, lady?" She shouts back, "Didn't you hear me calling you? "You ducking beaner. It's your own fault for ignoring me. I'm late for my hair appointment. Parked my goddamn car." I was absolutely dumbfounded. I tried to explain to her that I didn't work there, but she was not having it. Every time I opened my mouth, she called me something even more demeaning and racist, questioning my intelligence and threatening to get me fired. She started walking away, so I decided, duck it. I hurried up, walked to the restaurant next door and shouted, "Hey, idiot." She turned around, steaming at her ears. I said, as calmly as I could manage, "I don't work there." Then I dropped her keys in my half-full smoothie and chucked it as hard as I could into the restaurant's dumpster. The look on her face when the cup exploded in pink chunks as her keys dropped into a stanky dumpster was absolutely the freaking best. I walked away, flipping her off as she turned and ran back to the attendants. After I did all my bank business, I went back to the lot and saw her shouting at the lot security and pointing at me. The security guard, who of course I knew, asked me what happened. I told him she threw her keys at me, started shouting obscenities, and refused to take them back when I tried to explain that I didn't work there, and also that I threw them in my smoothie and chucked them in the trash next door. He was holding back his laughter when I finished. She tried again to call the cops on me, but he explained to her that she willingly gave me her keys and refused to take them back, telling her that she should have taken that extra second to listen to what I was trying to tell her. She then demanded that one of the workers go into the dumpster and fish the keys out, but he just pointed at a sign that said that the lot takes no responsibility for lost or stolen property. He then informed her that her Escalade was blocking traffic into the lot, and that if she didn't move it in 15 minutes, he would call a tow truck to move it. She did not like that, and she let him know she didn't through racist ranting and grandstanding. He stood there quietly the whole time and took it. When she was finally finished, he looked down at his watch and told her, "You have 7 minutes, ma'am." Wouldn't you know it, she angrily trudged off towards the dumpster. We had a good laugh about it, but he told me not to do it again. As I pulled out of the lot, I got a nice view of her in the dumpster furiously, throwing everything everywhere. I honked and waved as I passed and went about my day with a big smile on my face. The next day, one of the lot guys told me that they ended up having to tow her Escalade. I guess she couldn't find her keys. Oh well, hope the hairdresser didn't mind her smelling like garbage. I'm not sure about the legality of this all, or if I would have been in any actual trouble if the police had been called. She just caught me on a bad day. I don't feel the least bit sorry about what I did though, haha. I guess the moral of the story is don't be racist trash, and also, don't just give your keys to anyone like an idiot. The next story is titled Another Suburban Mom at Hot Topic. I saw the earlier post about the soccer mom in Hot Topic, and it reminded me of my own story. One day I decided to go into Hot Topic with my girlfriend. I'm dressed in my black combat boots, black jeans, black shirt, piercings, etc. I'm sorting through a rack of clearance stuff, seeing if there's anything in my size. A woman is standing on the other side looking at the wall of shirts. I start walking in that direction when she grabs my attention. "Excuse me, I need to find this shirt in a large and I can't seem to find it." Judging by the fact that she's a middle-aged woman looking like she's on the local PTAs and is currently looking for a Blink 182 shirt, she's definitely shopping for her kid. I take a look at the shirt, find it, and grab a large. I hand it to her and take the other shirt and put it back. "Oh, I must have missed that. Thank you so much. I also wanted to ask about this sale you have on denim. Is it?" "I'm sorry, ma'am, I actually don't work here," I said, smiling like an embarrassed kid. I basically was. She just stops with the same smiling face and says, "What?" "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't work here. I have no idea about this sale." She puts her head in her hands and just starts laughing. "I'm so sorry. You should grab an application. It seems like they could use you here." I joked with her that I was in there enough to know where everything was and I might just look into that application. She thanked me and walked to the dressing where, surprise, her daughter was changing. All I hear before I walk away is, "Oh my God, you'll never believe what I just did." Very wholesome interaction. 10/10 would help sweet suburban mom helping her kid get her rock on. The next story is titled, Company Paid Me for Months After I Had Quit Since They Didn't Realize I Didn't Work There Anymore. When I was in college, I worked for maybe 2 weeks at a clothing store that is well known for their ads with preppy, muscular college guys with no shirts on, and pretty girl next door type girls. My roommate worked there, so I got a job there as well. I've never worked somewhere that was as badly managed as this store. I showed up for my ships the first week, and nobody even knew I was supposed to be there or what I was supposed to be doing. They just told me to walk around and fold clothes and never trained me on anything. My roommate and I would leave and shop in the mall. You had to wear their clothing to work there, and when I went to buy some clothes with my discount, the manager, another college girl, told me to just take it as that is what they all do. I'm not someone who is comfortable with stealing, so I insisted on paying for my things, which seemingly annoyed the manager. I ended up just not going back to work after like a week or two, as the place was such a train wreck. I kept receiving paychecks for weeks after I had quit. I called corporate and tried to explain that I didn't actually work there anymore, but was still getting paid for my scheduled shifts, and they seemed just as confused as I was. The paychecks kept coming. I called multiple times as I was worried they would demand I had to pay the money back when they realized their mistake, and I was getting annoyed by having to keep calling. Someone in corporate told me to just keep them and he would fix the issue. They finally stopped coming after at least 2 months of free pay, and I never did have to pay the money back. Years later, I was married and received a letter from a lawyer in the mail in regards to a class action suit against the company I had worked for all of a week or two, claiming, ironically, I was entitled to money for them not paying me enough. It had something to do with them requiring employees to wear their clothing, which was funny considering I knew those employees had been stealing the clothes anyway. I figured I might as well be included in the class action as I had purchased quite a few pieces of their clothing for my very short time of working there, and to be honest, I was just amused by the whole thing at this point and wanted to see what would happen. I ended up getting a $100 gift card in the mail a while later after I had forgotten all about it. They calculated it based on how long I was paid for my employment there, not by how long I was actually employed there. I was like, man, this store really wants to keep paying me even years later. They just refused to take the hint that I don't work here, lady. The next story is titled, Confuse a Karen. I popped into a local shop yesterday for bread and milk and a few other bits. It's fairly cold, so I'm in my outdoor coat, hat, and gloves, and look nothing like the sales staff. I was searching for bread sauce when I hear a throat being cleared noisily nearby, and a very brusque, impatient lady's voice saying, "Excuse me." I think to myself, it's the dreaded Karen, and I recognize that voice. This one I am pretty sure I've met before. I know that saying I don't work here won't work, but this gives me an idea, a little experiment, if you will. So I turn to her and say, the manager. Just the person I wanted to see. She looks at me with a priceless expression of confusion, mouth silently working as she tried to think of a response, and says, relatively meekly, "But I don't work here." I reply to her, "Don't you? Oh well, I do apologize. So, what do you want?" Nothing, and walks away looking like the walls of her mind had just collapsed. I'm using this one again. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel and post some bear emojis in the comments.